Hi, I'm Adam C and welcome to my new driveway, my entire car collection, and what is wrong with every single one of them. This is gonna get expensive. So the last time you saw my place, the driveway was in need of definite repair, restoration, whatever you want to say. And there's a big video about that coming because it was quite a big project. Excuse the swimming shorts. I've washed half the collection for this very video to show you around them and show what needs doing. At the end of this video, I'm going to tally up the costs of exactly how much it's going to be to make all of these cars better again. Whether I actually do that is another question. Let's get started. Yeah, the battery. That's number one, the Viper. I thought we'd start with my most recent purchase, and the battery is kaput, completely dead. I've tried charging it, regenerating it with a C-Tech, and nope, it is long gone. It was only bought last April, so it's just over a year old, and honestly, it won't hold any charge. As soon as I turn it off, I get a message from my tracker saying this battery is low, so it dies straight away. It doesn't hold any charge, and you can't get them. Well, if you could, we'll go through the price later on in the video. You need to get a front-facing terminal battery, because if the terminals were on the top, it wouldn't fit behind that rear wheel. That's where it sits. It's the American TVR. That's not the only issue with this car. So I bought two cars this year, and this one I bought back in June, ready for Adam C Fest. I was looking for one of these for about 4 years, and this is only the third one that came up, and this was the best example out of the three. It's a 1996 car named the Unicorn this particular year, the first year of the GTS, and you can count on one hand how many marks are on this car. It's got a little crack in the headlight, we're going to PPF that. It's got a little crack in the windscreen, we're going to PPF that. We've got a stone chip on one of the wheels, we're not going to PPF that, and then a slight crack on the fiberglass from stress on the front end here. Headlights for these, I think they're about £5,000 to £7,000 each. And talking of money, that brings me neatly to the next issue with this car, and that is the tyres. They are 8 to 9 years old. That's not good. And due to my burnouts at Bewley, they don't have a lot of tread on the rear. Now I'm going to do a whole video about this car, a bit of never meet your heroes. The highlight is it tramlines everywhere. You can't really have fun driving it. Richard Hammond recently roasted this, basically explaining all that as well. And you also can't get tyres for this car. Now I spoke to Freddie Tavares the other day, and he gave me a company in the US that do have them in stock. We'll go into prices at the end, I'm going to say this a lot, and then I'm going to have to import them over to the UK because I can't find any tyres in this country. I need to replace them. But I've already done almost 2,000 miles in this car. Buying it from Yorkshire helps with that considerably, so I am enjoying it, and I will continue to do so for many years to come. Ah, the little MG, my first car. We go from the latest purchase to my first ever car back in 2014. I've done about 15,000, I think 15,800 miles in this car since I bought it. It used to be my daily, and then I restored it. I never liked these growing up. I thought they were just the common classic that an old man would buy. And then I came to university and thought, yes, that's the car that will get me ladies. And it didn't. So after dailying this car for many years, we started a restoration that lasted about 3 years, cost about £18,000. And I drove it for 1 year, and it was never quite right. The carbs, it seemed, couldn't quite align with each other. It's got twin SUs. It was due to go to a specialist to get balanced or inspected, so I thought I'd take it for a little test drive. Little did I know, the coolant had somehow disappeared. I hadn't checked before the drive. It wasn't there anymore. I drove it, it's blew up. The engine now needs rebuilding. I know the head gasket is probably gone, but it might have a slight bottom end knock as well. As you see, it started fine. I mean, that wasn't a cold start, but it does start fine. Now, as a result of it being sat for a year, the brakes, yeah, there's nothing. Put your foot to the floor and your foot goes to the floor. The handbrake works rather well, so well that it's actually slightly stuck on as well. So it had to drag the wheel across the new driveway, which wasn't great. Talking of new driveways, forgot to mention, when I first bought this car, this was the first car to drive on the new driveway. It hadn't leaked oil at all before I bought it. You can see where it's coming from. Yes, the sump gasket is now leaking oil due to maybe a winter of misuse, so it's going to need a new sump gasket as well. Before I moved on, I just wanted to tell you exactly why the brakes have gone. That's because in this little reservoir, there is no brake fluid. It's dry. That's because it's leaked all over the freshly painted engine bay, so all this paint can come off quite easily. And then inside you got little bits like the sun visor for the sunroof was never installed and they missed parts when I restored the car, so I can't use that. The MG badge here is loose. The heater control switches don't do anything, as if the heater matrix doesn't work. But I do have a working choke that's slightly sticky and working overdrive. Hopefully I've mentioned everything that this MG needs. The rust has come back. Ah, the trusty 350Z, old reliable that I've owned since 2018. Since then, I've done over 45,000 miles in this car. This is my daily. It gets over 30 mpg if you take care of it. And I do take care of it for some of the reasons I'll go into. Obviously, when I bought it, it was blue, and now it has been wrapped yellow, and the wrap has held up significantly well. Visually, there's only one stone chip on the front, which is amazing for like 2 years. There's a bit of stone chippage behind the rear wheels. That's going to happen naturally. And then the piece of door trim above the driver's side door often pops up because of the wrap that's underneath it. They did have to take off some of the paint to get the wrap to adhere on certain parts of the car. And then there's the bit at the back. Welcome to the bit at the back. When I bought the car, it had one dot of rust. I thought I'd got a good one, and to be fair, I had, but almost 50,000 miles later, that one blob of rust has become an infection. It's due to the mud that kind of settles underneath the arch and is trapped there, and when not washed away quick enough, just kind of rusts. So that's my rust. The rest of the car is fine on the surface. Underneath might be a different story. And then also with this corner, this wheel that came off the Chaser was curbed, and then that spread as well underneath the clear coat. And then we get to the roof of a 350Z Cabriolet, which hasn't been down since this car was yellow. That was over 2 years ago now. So 350Z roofs are quite fickle. They've got, I think, 2 motors. I haven't looked it up for many years. I do own new 350Z roof motors, or reconditioned ones, but roof specialists, guys that specialise in fixing soft tops and hard tops, don't touch 350Zs. They're like, oh, 350, oh, we do 370s, that doesn't help. And the fact that the specialists don't touch these means that I'm not going to have a go myself, because I'll either break myself or break the car, or both. It's fine for keeping rain out, it's just in the winter I need to be cautious of how much moisture gets in. That's only because I haven't really put it down properly, and I don't want to lift it up again to put it down properly again in case it won't go down at all, and then I'm stuck with a convertible that doesn't convert, but the other way round. And then we come to that exhaust, which you might have seen was noisy. That's the main mod that I did to this car. I haven't done any power mods because there's no point with these engines. They're already quite highly tuned from that Renault V6. This one's pushing out a bit more than other standard 350Zs, and I don't know why. Maybe just the exhaust. I know it's blasphemy to say, but maybe just the exhaust. And well, you've got the 5-inch tips from Nissan GTRs, which look ghastly and have got a bit tired because I don't really take care of this car as much anymore because it is the daily. But the fact that it's so loud means that I actually drive like a granny everywhere, because I don't want to annoy the neighbours, I don't want to annoy everyone in every neighbourhood that I visit. So that's good. It does also identify other issues with the car and its age and the age of the engine. And the MOT is coming up for this car. I'm not going to say anything. All I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until the end of this video, once the MOT is done, and show you the list of things that they say it needs, rather than me going into everything, because I've got a feeling, but obviously once it's at the MOT place, then I'll maybe take it back. It might fail. We shall see later on. Hold on to your horses for this one. Oh, it's died. The Twingo! I'm going to try and be quick with this one because it was another 2024 purchase. This one wasn't quite as good condition as the Viper, and I can't tell you how many miles I've done because the speedo and all of the digital displays don't work. They were working when I bought the car, but this was meant to be a small project of mine, and it's dying again. It's dying again, isn't it? It's trying. Come on. Hopefully it's just fuel, because the fuel gauge is electric and doesn't work either. Go on. I can't remember if this is V-Power or lawnmower fuel. This one's nice and quiet, so we'll keep it running whilst talking about it. This was obviously my guilty pleasure, the left-hand drive Mark I Renault Twingo. This one, the Phase 1, quite an early example that I bought for £350. I thought it was only the sills that needed welding, but we put it up, and it's the whole underneath of the car. I mean, the suspension mounts there pretty much through the floor of the car. We managed to put a pry bar through. Classic rusty car. And because these values, well, I mean, they're going up, that's definitely for sure, but they're still not quite high enough to warrant restoring. And because I restored the MG, I'm kind of not in the mindset to restore another car only for the engine to blow up just a year down the line. So you got dents everywhere. I mean, it's a car I can whack, literally. I've never owned a car that I could key for fun. But the absolute best thing about this car is not my sticker showcase that I have provided it. It's the living organism that is growing. I should probably name this plant Sheila. This is Sheila, and she's been sprouting for about, I don't know, 2 months now. It's from all the grass from Adam Seafest, because we were using this as a to and from car. And I just noticed Sheila had a little bit of green in her, so I kept an eye on her. I haven't watered her at all. I'm trying to water my lawn. That's not growing, but Sheila here, she's a little trooper. I wasn't meant to have circled around the O. I think that's my MGB that did that. But here is the Twingo, the mighty Twingo. The paintwork is the worst I've seen on any car in this area. So it needs a full respray. It needs the underside welded up. There's a bit of damage on that from when we loaded it for Adam Seafest. It couldn't quite fit, so we just shunted it in. I crashed into a tree on purpose, but to its merit, it's got correct hand drive headlights, so headlights made for the UK. They're worth about as much as I paid for the car, and spare rear lights, spare headlights, loads of spare parts, and a picture of Osama bin Laden on the inside of the door that we won't go into. This door won't open unless you kick it. I think it's locked. There we go. And the passenger seat is the only seat that works. I mean, you can go forward and you can go back. The driver's seat's got rips and tears in it because this is used as a lumberjack, and the rear seats, well, they're completely loose. The rest of the inside, though, I think just needs a bit of a clean, or a loss of a clean. Again, we've got lots of straw and grass from Adam Seafest. And the only way to open the boot is not using the key. No, that doesn't work. You have to go in the inside and finger it in a very specific way to encourage it to open. But all in all, it's just nice to own a car that I don't have to worry about. No, we're not going to get a start-up from this car due to its issue. So this is my 2005 Dax Tojeiro, the AC Cobra replica that I bought when I was 22 years old, because this was always the dream car. When I was a kid, I thought that the AC Cobra was a kit car. So that's why I aspire to own. That's what I got. I've done almost 15,000 miles in this car. And the most recent journey you might have seen was to the Goodwood Festival of Speed, which didn't allow me to get home. I didn't quite make it. I was close. I mean, we almost got home, and then I slipped on my own oil spill, and that's because In the sump on this car, where the oil temp sensor should be screwed into, I think there was a bung, because I don't think I had an oil temp gauge that was working at the time, ever since I had that sump fitted, and whatever was in there has popped out and oil's gone everywhere. So it does start, it runs fine, it's just, it's not got much oil on it, and the hole is still in there. I'm waiting for a new part to fit, to get this back on the road, ready for the winter. Why do I use this in the winter? Everything else though is fine. Like, it went to total head turners in the winter to have literally everything done on it, and I have a full list. I made a whole video about it and it was mint. It's just this freak incident that happened on the way back from Goodwood that has stopped me using this car. But this is always my favourite car. People ask me which is my favourite out of the collection. They think, oh, it must be the Viper. It must be maybe the Chaser because everyone loves them. But no, it's my favourite. Ah, the Chaser. What could possibly be wrong? I mean, everyone loves the white Chaser. Well, it has been okay up to recently when I washed it to go to the British Motor Show and then came to the end of my driveway after washing it, foot on the brake, and there are brakes. It does have brakes. It has got brake fluid, but it's as if the brake servo doesn't work. So I think there's a vacuum leak in the brake system because some of the time it works. I mean, that was working and then it didn't. So 50% of the time the brake servo works and the other time it doesn't. So sometimes you're like, oh, and then you're like, oh, that's my scientific explanation of what's wrong with this car. But that's not the only thing. The other issues relates to the bodywork. I mean, you've got two different types of paint. You've got the new paint on the body kit and then the old paint on the rest of the car. That old paint is a little bit tired if you really examine it and know your paint. So I might try and get that redone at a later stage, maybe in the winter. Then the new paint, maybe a slightly different colour. And then the body kit itself, especially the front bumper, has cracked quite a bit for all the stress and being waxed, because I've got BC Racing coilovers on the car and it's quite low. It's firm, it could be firmer, but I didn't want it too firm, and as a result it does whack underneath, so that creates stress marks, cracks in the bumper itself. So it's all kind of small visual things that you won't necessarily know. I won't direct your eyes to every single part of it because then that will ruin your fondness of the white Chaser, perhaps. But there you have it, childhood heroes, failed restorations, cars in need of restorations, engines in need of being rebuilt, plants with names, 350Zs that are about to fail in MOT, and a white Chaser that everyone loves. So time to get inside, work out the costs, and find out whether the 350Z really will pass an MOT. So I'll keep this short and sweet because I know it's quite a long video and you probably don't care too much about this, but the Viper. So a new battery already bought. I found one, so that was £100. Done. I fitted it, which required taking the rear wheel off. It wasn't too bad of a job. PPF, let's say about £150 for the windscreen and headlight material. I'm not going to include labour in these costs because some bits I can do myself and other bits I can't tell you what the labour cost is going to be until the labour happens. Tyres. Now, as I mentioned, I found a set in America thanks to Freddie Tavares, and they were £1,350. Yeah, we'll try that. We'll do a wire transfer if it doesn't work. And they're in a shipping container already coming to the UK very, very soon, thanks to Factory 5 Racing. Sump gasket for the Dodge Viper. The previous owner has one lying around £150. Apparently that's the going rate. Now, MGB. I'm just going to go worst case scenario. It could just be a head gasket on it. It could have a bottom end knock, and if so, it's probably more worthwhile getting a reconditioned engine. So they range from between £3,500 to £4,500. So let's put £3,500. Master cylinder, I'm going to have to change that, £85. 350Z, so the roof is about £340 for the actual new roof, but fitting it is an extra £1,000, so £1,350 to get a new roof on that car. The rear arch is rusty. Someone's quoted around about £450 per corner. And then the MOT. Now, I was going to presume that this would flag up a few other issues, but all it said was my two front tyres are low. That's about £250 for two front tyres. And then the anti-roll bar pin and bushes are worn, apparently. apparently. Don't worry about that, that's fine. Twingo. So as I said, a mate said £1,000 to get it roadworthy. I'm gonna just go for that cost. We don't need to restore that car. There's no point going into whole costs of that. There's a few costs that I'm just kind of ignoring. Otherwise it's gonna be like 15, 20, 25, £30,000. The Cobra, the oil temperature sensor, apparently it needs an adapter. That's $20, and then the sensor itself is £20. But I might be able to jack up the car and see that I've still got a sensor attached and I can just plug it in, but we don't know until we investigate. But let's say about 40 quid. Chaser. Now, brake servo. For a Toyota Chaser, you can't really get them. Unless you pay £500 from Japan for a new one. Someone has offered me their used one for 120 quid, so we'll say 120, we'll include that. I did take the car to Mulgari recently to see what they said about it, and they said, yeah, the brake servo probably needs changing. The master cylinder is probably causing the problem, so you probably do need to change the master cylinder, but you might not need to. Now into the calculator that's been with me from college, school, uni, and now this stupid video. So Viper battery, £100. Viper tyres, £13.50. £150 for the PPF, £150 for the sump gaskets. That's £17.50, that's the Viper. MGB, £3,500 for the engine, plus let's say £1,000 for fitting. It's going to be a lot more than that, but I don't care anymore. Plus £85, £4,585. Now we've got 350Z, £250 for the front tyres, then £1,340 for the new roof, then £450 for the rust repair, £2,040. The Twingo, I've only put £1,000 aside for it, and I think that's wise, because if I spend any more than 1,000, it will be a stupid thing to do. Now the Cobra, that's only 40 quid, let's just say, let's just hope. And then the Chaser, if I get a used brake servo, that's 120. Master cylinder, I reckon it's going to be about 250, including postage. So let's say 370, and that's before any labour. I don't want to do this. Equals. Well, it's not £10,000. That's fortunate. It's so close. £9,785. Divide that by 6 cars. That is £1,630 each. The Viper will be done. The Chaser, we're going to get there. The Cobra, I need to get there. 350Z, I don't think I'm going to bother. Twingo, I want you to tell me what I should do. MGB, cars, eh? You live and learn, but we don't learn. Car guys are a weird breed. I'm definitely one of them, as you can see. I've got an expensive year ahead of me, so hope you enjoyed that video. Something a little bit different to normal, that's for sure. I'm going to cry myself to sleep tonight, but for now, thanks for watching.